Hey, it's Trey, and welcome back to all my craziness. It is a Friday. Yay! We made it through another week, so let's talk about what I'm going to do today while I walk off the screen. So, I kind of started this yesterday. I had a little time. I was waiting for Jeremy to come home. Clogging had been canceled because Miss Daisy was sick. So we had a little free time, so we went to the zoo, and then we went to get something to eat. So while I was waiting for him to come home, I started working a little bit, doing some harvesting of images because I've got to just get through some of this stuff. And I decided I would do it this way. So I pulled out a composition notebook. I got this at Dollar General. Yeah, Dollar General. Several years ago. It is a single signature sewn in the middle, and it's got plastic covers. So I just pulled out, I guess I started with this magazine, and I started cutting images, and then every couple of pages, I would just start to glue them down. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to cut them out and immediately glue them down, and we're just going to start a glue book from these images, or from this one magazine. So that is what I've done. I'm about halfway through this magazine now, and I've just been I just flip front to back to make it not so warped, and also to break up the images, because a lot of them are the same. So yeah, so these are the ones that I haven't, and I did get a lot of different focal images and stuff like that too. So like this one, I probably won't glue down. I'll go ahead and just put it in my focal images. I'm mainly looking for squares, rectangular, that kind of things that have hard edges is what I'm using. Anything that I have to cut out that doesn't have a hard edge, then I'm kind of just putting in my focal images. So this is where I stopped yesterday. There's a 3 in the way. I could cut that corner. So we were going to eat at a food truck at the zoo because they have, on Thursdays, I forgot what they call it, but it's like their late night. And we walked in, and where we expected the food truck to be, it was not. So we're like, okay, well, we'll just go. They had a sign up that was like, oh, you can have, you can eat. They only had like limited things. So like they had a cantina, and at the cantina you could get like a frozen margarita, and you could get chicken tacos, some kind of chicken taco. And so we're like, okay, that sounds good. We'll just do that, So we walked up, and he's like, yeah, we'll take the tacos. And she's like, oh, we're not serving food. She's like, you'll have to go down to the bistro or the steakhouse. And we were just like, okay. So we just walked around the zoo a little bit, and we just ended up leaving. Because we were just like, no, and then as we were leaving, I was like, I wonder where the food truck, could be. Because we didn't go around the whole zoo. We just went around to like some of our favorite exhibits. And he's like, well, it did say something about family friendly and a splash pad. And I'm like, this was when we were walking out of the zoo. We had already walked out of the zoo. And I was like, Jeremy, I was like, that's the kids area. He was like, oh. And we didn't walk down that way. I was like, it's okay. I'm not going back now. So we actually ended up at a place called The Last Days of Autumn, which is a brewery here in Knoxville. It's relatively new, and they had baby back ribs, and let me tell you, it was so good. It was so good. I do not regret my choice at all. At all. Do not. So that's where we went for dinner, and it was really good. And then we came home and watched the Olympics. which is what we've been doing. We have any other Olympic watchers? Also, oops, I read a story this morning about Simone. Apparently, there is some hubbubaloo. Dang it. Come on now. I bet it's that hole. There we go. There's a hole right there. Let's cut that off. There we go. Apparently her drug test came back iffy, and it turns out it was CBD, basically cannabinoids. And she's, saying that, she shouldn't be penalized for that, and I agree. So I hope that she doesn't get any guff for that, because CBD oil is very beneficial. Honestly, I don't have anything against marijuana either. I can't see this. Hold on. I keep getting messed up, so rather than, I'll just do this so I can see my edge. There we go. Just cutting off this magazine has holes in it, so that's what I'm cutting out. This is a really big one, so I'll probably end up doing kind of like I did, I think it was this one. This one was a whole page, so I put it down and then I cut around it, and then I used the rest of it in different parts. That's part of it. So that's probably what I'll do. In fact, let's just go ahead and start now. Got that covered up. Got that covered up. I need a spot for that. I don't think I have anything yet, though. That will really work for that, unless let's not even do that. That's just not even. And this is probably going to go easier on the other side, so let's just do this. Let's do this over here. Where did I do my chicken head? So we got to watch track and field last night, since we already knew who won the all around Olympics. Gymnastics. And, by the time they get to the individuals, I'm over gymnastics because I've already seen all their routines. So I don't want to see them do their routines again unless, it's a really close race or something like that. And I don't know. After the whole Simone thing, I was over gymnastics. I was just like, nah. All right, that looks pretty good. Yeah, let's do that. It is a rainy, rainy day here in Tennessee, and the cats were very disappointed this morning. They kept crying to go outside because the routine is when Jeremy goes to work, then they line up at the back door, and then they get to go outside, and they usually go outside for about an hour. They don't like to stay out there very long. They just like to go and check everything out. They just stay in the backyard. Very good cats. We have a fenced-in backyard, and they just stay in the backyard. And so usually in about an hour, Amber will be the first one. She'll come to the door. Willow will stay out there as long as her sister's out there. But once her sister's gone in, she wants to be in too. So once I see Amber, I call for Willow. She comes in. And there you have it. This has a hole in it. This also has a hole in it. There's a hole in my image, dear Liza, dear Liza. There's a hole in my image. Not wide enough. All right, we'll just wait. Doesn't have to be perfect. Y'all just enjoy all the kind of weird things that I do. I got some disappointing news yesterday as well. My clogging team, we were going to sponsor our very first competition this year at the fair. It was going to be the Hoedown Throwdown. We were so excited, and then Daisy canceled it yesterday. She said the lady from the fair just wasn't holding up her end of the bargain, and she just started getting bad feelings from it. And I am always one to say, go with your gut, go with your gut. And she's like, there was going to be so much work that she had to do, which is true. I mean, it's a lot of work. I don't even think this lady even knows how much work, because we have to, we have to get promoted to all these different teams. We also have to go and get certified. We have to get judges. We have to pay for judges. We have to look for accommodations and get deals on accommodation. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and beyond just getting certified and saying, hey, we want to have a competition. I mean, there is a lot that goes into it. And Daisy's like, I just had a feeling that if we did not get a lot of people to show up, which we probably wouldn't have, because it's an end of the year competition and most everybody is qualified for nationals by then. And that's the reason why you go to regional competitions, is to qualify for nationals. And so to qualify for nationals, you have to place first, second, or third for your dance in 2 regional events. So the late in the year ones are really for people to come who have not qualified yet and still have dances that they want to qualify. So, looks good. And so yeah, I mean, you're not gonna because everybody's gearing up for nationals in the fall. You don't really have a lot of people at the fall competitions. I mean, we do our competitions. All of our competitions mainly are in the spring, because we want to qualify first thing. And then that leaves us the rest of the year of, if we do not qualify a dance, that we can go to a different competition and try to qualify it. So, and that's the way all teams do. Everybody tries to get in and get qualified as soon as possible. Why wouldn't you? And plus, being a first-year competition, not a lot of teams are going to come because they've already made their competition schedules. So we weren't going to have that great of a turnout the first year anyways. I mean, it's a first-year thing. Some people are like, yeah, something new. Other people are like, oh, something new. Let's see how it turns out first. Right? So I hope we can do it next year, though, because I think that'll be good for our team. Of course, we're still trying to get our team name out there, because we are a new team, but we are starting to get to be known, especially the adult team. We're really starting to get known for a good reputation of being team players, of being really close and supportive and happy and joyful, that kind of stuff. Is we're starting to get that kind of reputation of like, wow, all your kids are like really close to one another, and because they really are. And it's not just like, I don't know, our studio is very much like a family atmosphere, and we like it. That's the way we want it. We're all one big happy family. It's just like when I'm sitting there, there's usually kids all around me from ages 4 to 17 that are vying for my attention and and they're all playing together. The teenage kids are playing with the little kids, and they're playing the little kids games, or they're helping the kids play their games or whatever. Or so many times, like, the teenagers will be playing like Among Us or whatever, and then they'll get like a little kid who'll sit on their lap and then they play. So they're playing together, or they like to sit in the circle. And I don't know what this game is, but it's some kind of gesture game. And all the kids can do it. It doesn't matter the age. So they do that a lot. But I mean, it's really cool, you know, and then even like on the adult team, you know, several members of our adult team have kids that clog, you know. So it very much is a family affair. And we, you know, we encourage them. You know, so many of the moms were like, I wish I could get up there and do that. And I'm like, well, do it. I mean, you're here, you're sitting here all day, might as well do it. And they're like, well, I've got to help her get into her costume, you know, whatever. And I'm like, we'll help that. We'll help you do that. That's what we do. We have two heavy hitters. What I mean by heavy hitters is they dance a lot. Blake and Sydney, they're cousins. And both of their moms dance on the adult team now. So since they're heavy hitters, they are in a lot of dances, a lot of dances. Therefore, it means a lot of costume changes, and therefore we all just chip in and help. You know, different moms, adult team. You know, I'm over there yelling, "Sydney, go get dressed." You know, different things like that. So we all just chip in and help each other. I always help Katie. Katie's my little one, and she and I don't know, we just have this really close bond. She's like a little mini me. I love her. She's like a part of my soul. And it's like that from the first time we met. We both felt it. I was like, Katie, when I first met you, I was like, I don't know. I was like, I just felt really drawn to you. Like, you know, and she's like, really? Because I felt that same way. And I was like, well, then I don't feel so bad. Because, I mean, it's weird being an adult. But, you know, Katie is being raised by her grandparents, or by her grandmother, I should say. She was actually adopted by her grandmother, so it's actually her mother now. And I think a lot of our connectedness comes from that. She's so talented. I love her so much, but I am constantly going, your next dance is blah, blah, blah. Your next dance is blah, blah, blah. I'm constantly telling her. She's like, well, she'll come run to me and she'll get off stage and she'll go, what do I do now? And I'm like, okay, you need to do it. Duo. Which duo? It's this outfit. Okay. She's so funny. I love her. The other day, or not the other day, but the last competition, we always have a big group practice a couple of days before competition where we run through all of our dances and all that. You know, everybody sees everybody's dance. We work on final positions, you know, for if somebody's not going to be there. Because, I mean, that happens. People go on vacation and we have to rework our lines. It's not always easy. It's very hard, especially when you're older. But it's part of it. And that's when we do it, 2 days before the competition. I tell you what, for me, it's very nerve-wracking. It is very nerve-wracking to have things change. But I have gotten used to it. And it's almost to the point now where it's just no big deal. And I have just learned that what I need to nail down in my mind is the steps and not the positioning. Because the steps don't change, but the positioning does. So as long as I have that good cadence of the steps in my mind, then I should be okay. There shouldn't be any problem. I should be able to move anywhere. But now, is that really the case? No. It never works out that way. Hello, Miss Willow. Have you come to visit? Are you going to rip up my chair first? Or are you just going to jump up here? Come on, Willow. Hello, Willow. Look at her little fat tummy. I weighed her yesterday. She was 7.5 pounds. Don't be spelling all that stuff. 7.5 pounds. Look at her little feet. I love your little feet. Look at I love when she spreads her little toes. She spreads her little toes. You kicking your feet. You kicking your feet. So stop showing on my feet, my little toe beans. I love her little toe beans. I love her toe beans. Oh, somebody's messaging me. Oh, I just hit you in the face. Are you okay? I don't have anything for you to pick out today. Maybe Monday you can help us. Maybe Monday you can come and help us pick what goes on the page. You think so? You think so? She always looks so worried because of her little markings above her eyes. And she's got these big old eyes because she's tiny. She's tiny, but she's got regular cat size eyes. So her eyes look huge, and then she's got those little tan markings that look like eyebrows. And it just makes her look anxious all the time. She also has this marking right here on her ear that I'm constantly trying to wipe off, thinking it's something. I know, I touched her marking on your ear. Get somewhere. Her tiny tail. My little inbred cat. So, my son got a job yesterday, guys. He's super excited. He's like, I cannot wait to go and tell Dad. Because I asked him yesterday, so what's your job plans for, or what's your plans for today? And he said, it's a surprise. He had an interview at Starbucks. And he got it. Trying to figure out which one I want. I said it would have been horrible if you said it's a surprise and then something bad would have happened to like the house or something, because they weren't home yesterday. It's like, it's a surprise, and they come home and the house is flooded. But my son's so silly because he went in and he went for an interview or whatever, and then she was like, well, I can give you a free drink, and he's like, cool, and she's like, what do you want? And he said, water. Only my son would go to Starbucks, be offered a free drink, and say water. And she was like, she's like, I can give you anything else. And then my son, in his infinite wisdom, says, well, I don't really drink Starbucks. So he's like, do you have anything with dragon fruit in it? She's like, yeah. So she made him a dragon fruit drink. But so funny, my son. Yeah, I don't really drink Starbucks. I told him, I was like, you will by the time you quit. He's really nervous. He's like, I don't know if I'll be able to remember all the drinks. And I'm like, yeah, you will. It'll be fine. But I was very proud of him because she said, at the very last, she said, is there anything that I should know about you, or anything you would like me to know about you? I don't know exactly what she said. But my son said, well, yeah, I am ADHD with autistic tendencies. And I was like, oh, honey, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you for owning who you are. And he's like, yeah, and I'm glad I did, because she's like, oh, really? Yeah, my son is blind and autistic. She's like, so I know where you're coming from. And he's like, cool. And I was like, did you tell her that she needed to be like really direct with you? And he's like, yeah, I told her. And she was like, yeah, I totally get that. And I was like, well, good, honey. I was like, maybe it'll work to your advantage, I don't want to cover up too much, so I think I'm going to do that. It'll leave a little corner. I think it'll be okay. So he doesn't know when he gets to work because they have to do a background check. And he's like, do you think it'll come back okay? And I was like, well, I don't know. I was like, all those arrests you had in elementary school. I was like, it may come back to bite you. I was like, honey, you're 18. There is nothing on your background. I was like, you've not been in trouble. You should be fine. But then again, he has been in trouble. So I do worry a little bit. Because let me tell you about my son's school career. He did get suspended in first grade for sexual harassment. Yes, you heard me right. No, sexual harassment and sexual assault. That's what it was. Sorry. Jeremy said the food truck canceled last night. He must have heard me talking about it. So this girl in the lunchroom was pulling at Kennan's shirt and all that. Kept pulling at him and all that. And he had turned around. I don't know if I can do this on camera, but he turned around and he was facing this way and he pulled his arm back this way. Well, it went right back down. He punched backwards to get her away from him. Went right between her legs, of course. So they take my first grade son into the office and proceed, to have a conversation with him that I did not enjoy. I did not like that I was not there. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I was like, you know what? Because they were saying that they were going to suspend him for sexual, harassment, sexual assault. I was like, you know what? I was like, this is ridiculous. I was like, he doesn't know anything what sex is. I was like, he barely knows the difference between boys and girls. I was like, and now you've just educated him on a lot of stuff that I did not want him to know yet. I was like, and this was clearly an accident. And I was like, and look at his shirt. I was like, his shirt is all stretched out. I was like, did she get in trouble for that? Because clearly she was assaulting my son. And they were like, well, she was the one that was hit. And I was like, no, she was the one who was attacking. I was like, my son was defending himself. And I was like, he did not even, because because I was concerned. Once they told me the situation, then I was pissed. Because I'm thinking my son's holding some girl down, filling up her shirt or whatever. And when I heard the situation, then I lost it. Absolutely lost it. How dare you put this on my son? How dare you put this label on him? I was so mad. I was so livid. But they suspended him. So, yeah. Then, also, he got in trouble in middle school several times where kids had learned that my kid would never tattle and would take the blame for anything because he didn't care if he got in trouble or not. Half the time he was trouble anyway, so a little bit more trouble his way for his friends didn't matter. So he would take the blame for anything. And boy, they took advantage of that. They took advantage of him big time. I'd get so mad at him. I'm like, why did you do this? Why didn't you tell them that it was Tristan? So he even had the cops called on him at least twice in middle school. Once in 7th grade, maybe twice in 8th grade. Yeah, that's how bad it got. The last time they called the cops, he might have got the cops called on him 3 times. One time they said he was planning like a shooting or something like that. And I'm like, he doesn't have any access to guns. But they had to call in the cops to do all that stuff. We don't have guns or anything. Me, I don't. His dad don't. I think his dad actually does have a gun now, though. But he didn't at the time, and that worked to our advantage because we're like, yeah, this is bull. And it was a complete bull crap story from one of his friends. They decided, it would be funny. Because, middle school boys, they don't know. They're just dumb. Oh. Then in high school, things pretty much straightened out. Because the last time, I didn't finish the story. The last time this guy, Kenan was best friends with this kid. Eli. And Eli used him. And he and Eli got in trouble for something. They'd skipped class. I think they had skipped class, and that's what they were in trouble for. It was like a minor kind of infraction kind of thing. No, it couldn't have been that, because it was something that happened in the school. Honestly, I don't remember. But whatever happened, Eli was the one who did it. And, of course, Kenan wasn't going to say anything. It was like Kenan and Eli. That's what it was. It was Kenan and Eli. And, of course, Kenan's not going to say anything about Eli. But, you know, when they got in trouble, Eli blamed him, said it was all Kenan. He didn't do anything. That it was, you know, and it pissed Kenan off, because he's like, look, I've taken the blame for so many things, and this was like a minor thing, and he couldn't even own up to that. And I was like, honey, that's what I'm telling you. I was like, he doesn't care. He's not, because in Kenan's mind, he always thought it was more like, well, I'm taking up for them, and then if I need it, they'll take up for me. And he found out quite quick that no, he was just a scapegoat. There was no reciprocation in that. And it was a hard lesson for him to learn, but he learned it. And he went to high school, and he did great. He was just a really good experience for him, for the most part. He did meet this girl, and her name is Abby, and I cannot stand her. She got mad at Kenan and had taken a post that he and his friends, they were in a group chat. And Abby had said something like, when I'm drunk, you can do anything to me that you want, or something like that. Something to those effects. And so Kenan jokingly said something along the lines of like, rape, here I come, you know, because it was a dumb statement for her to say, and he was making fun of it, you know, basically like, oh yeah, so it's okay to rape you just because you're drunk, you know. I mean, I totally get it. He's got my sense of humor, my dark sense of humor. I get what he was saying. He was basically saying, that's dumb, girl. You're being dumb, you know. Oh, when I'm drunk, you can do whatever you want to me. No, that's rape. You can't. You're being dumb. And months later, she got mad at Kenan over something. I can't remember now what Kenan, but whatever happened, she ended up taking that text to the principal and saying that Kenan threatened to rape her. And then all of her friends backed her up. Yeah, Kenan threatened to rape her. Yeah, he was totally serious. And I read the text. They brought me in. I read the text, and I'm like, you're kidding, right? I mean, you can clearly see that, you know, underneath his, because they just showed the text. They just showed his text, hers and his. That's it. I pulled it up on Kenan's phone, and underneath it, you can see where everybody's like, you know, LOL and all this stuff. I was like, they clearly knew it was a joke. They clearly, well, he said this, and you can't do that. So they suspended him for a week for that. And Abby went around that week. None of Kenan's friends were able to testify against that, because they came up and told me, so we tried to tell them, but they did not want to hear anything we had to say. I was like, I get it. So that week, Abby went around the school bragging about how she had gotten Kenan suspended, and that she was going to get him expelled by the end of the school year. So I went up there. I had already told them, I said, you know what? I was like, I will accept this suspension. I was like, but Abby is to be nowhere near my son. And they was like, well, this is a small school. And I was like, I don't care. I was like, Abby is not to be in one of his classes. And if I ever find out that she is in even one of his classes, homeroom or anything, I was like, you are going to have a Hellcat on your hands. I was like, I do not want that bitch around my son. Period. And they was like, well, we'll do what we can, but we can't guarantee anything. So I just let it ride. That week she went around and sold everybody. So I went up there, and they tried, Kennan's friends tried to report it to the office, and the office didn't want to hear about it. So I walked up there to the principal, and I said, look, I was like, Kennan's friends are trying to tell you this. I was like, obviously Abby has some kind of pull in the school where Kennan does not. I was like, but I tell you what, she's going around telling everybody she's going to get him expelled. I was like, if one complaint comes from Abby against my son, I was like, your asses will be at the school board. I was like, I'm already gathering evidence. I was like, and I can tell you right now that she is not the sweet, innocent little girl that you think she is. I was like, and I got all kinds of texts from her to prove it if you really want to know. I was like, I was like, if I wanted to push this issue, I was like, that little girl would be expelled because the things that she said to my son were inappropriate. Okay, that was all the part about, her sending texts to my son that were inappropriate. Yeah, no, I don't know about that. I'm sure she did because all kids are inappropriate. But yeah, I was just, that was a bluff. But yeah, I was starting to take notes, and I was telling Kennan's friends and stuff. I was like, if you ever hear Abby or any of Abby's friends say anything, you tell me. And boy, they did. There was a couple of times that Abby tried to go against Ken, and every single time I would call up the principals. I was like, hey, I'm hearing some Abby stuff, and she's telling that she's going to come and say that Kenan did this to her car. I was like, so I want to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, I want all the cameras. And they're like, well, she hasn't come up and said anything. And I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. She's already threatening this. I was like, I know how you did my son last. I was like, we're not going through this again. And so they said, well, we will go ahead and if she comes forward, I'll make sure that those are pulled. I was like, absolutely. Oh, I'm so glad he's out of that school. So glad now. Just to get away from her and that, it was ridiculous. And it's because that she was like salutatorian, I believe. So, she knew she was like really a big schmoozer. So it's a small school. I mean, he's true. I mean, Kennan's graduating class was maybe 80 kids. So yeah, I mean, all the teachers knew all that. So I did get one teacher that told me that, yeah, that Abby was trying to cause trouble for Kenan, and that she would try to keep an eye on it. And I appreciated that somebody saw, that I wasn't just out here acting like, my kid's hot shit. I'm so happy that Kenan was able to get a job because he was really starting to get discouraged, because he was going on these interviews and it would be like, we'll let you know, and then it'd be nothing, It was just so sad. And a lot of it was just because they wanted experience, and he just, he wouldn't have any. He's only worked at Kroger's, and they worked at this local place washing dishes. And let me tell you, that is another situation that this mama is having a really hard time dealing with. And I keep saying there was a reason I didn't know at the time. Therefore, I just need to just suck it up. I mean, what's it going to do? He doesn't work there anymore. But he worked at a local restaurant, locally owned. These people go to the church that's like right around the corner. We actually went to church with them for a while. I thought they were good people and all that. And then I find out that my 17-year-old son, who was a dishwasher there, was told he was not allowed to eat any of the food, but he could have all the drinks he wanted. He did not get a single break. he had, from the time that he walked in, he had to wash dishes until they were all done, and no breaks. So if there was dishes, then he didn't get a break. There was always dishes because people are always eating. Therefore, he never got a break, and that pissed me off because that is against the law. But of course, Kennan's 17 and he doesn't know any better. He didn't know any better that was against the law and that they couldn't do that to him. And then I also found out that they were leaving him there at night all by himself because the dishes wouldn't be done. So everybody else would finish up and then they would leave my 17-year-old son in a restaurant by himself. By himself. Unlocked, because there was no way to lock it from the inside. No way to lock this place from the inside. So when they left, they wouldn't lock him in. They would just leave it unlocked. So he would just be in this restaurant in the pitch black by himself washing dishes. Then he would have to go out this place is secluded. He'd have to go out in the dark, get in his car, lock up and come home. Oh, honey child. Honey child. Let me tell you, when I heard that, I was halfway down there before I calmed myself down and was like, this is not your business. This is not your business. This happened. There is nothing they can do right now that will bring restitution to what they did to your kid. But, now anytime that I see those people out, I just look at them and I think, I see you. I see you. You greedy little bastards. I see you. Here we go. Oh. It's so hard sometimes, with your kids and all that, to let them make their own mistakes. I'm finding that with my son, Ron. It's just so hard to sit back and watch them when you want to help them so bad, You go, just listen to me. But then again, I think that hurts our youth in a lot of way too. When you are like, listen to me. I think about my parents a lot. My parents. Let me tell you my story. I was conceived in the back of a '65 Mustang on a warm summer night. My parents, once my mom found out that she was pregnant with me, they decided to get married. So they went over to North Carolina and got married. Now, the reason my mom knew about this place is because she'd already ran over there and got married once before, a few months before. Oh, my mom, she was a wildcat. Way more than I am. I am tame next to her. And so they had went and got married, and then they went back home to their respective homes. And their plan was, now my father was a senior in high school, and my mom had just graduated the year before, so she was 18 and he was 17. And they had planned, after they got married, that they were going to go to Florida, and Daddy was going to work at Disney World. And that was their plan. And once my grandmother figured out that my mom was pregnant, she was like, I don't know, I want you to stay here. You should stay here. So my grandmother put the kibosh on that plan. And I often think, once my father told me about that, oh yeah, this is what we were supposed to do, or this is what our plan, this is what we were going to do. I often think, what would have happened if you did? Could y'all stayed together? Because what ended up happening was that my father moved in with my grandparents. Therefore, then that puts them in control. And they were very controlling. And when I was born, I immediately went under their thumb. So, Mom and Dad actually got a house, and I never lived there. I stayed with my grandparents. Apparently my mom would come, she worked like second shift, and she would come to pick me up, and my mom would say, oh, well, she's already asleep, so let's just let her sleep. You just go home and get some rest. And the one time that my mom decided that she was going to take me, apparently I screamed my head off so badly that my grandfather ended up coming and getting me and bringing me back to their house. I don't know what that was about, but yeah. So apparently that was the only time I ever tried to stay with my parents. That was the last time they tried. And then soon after that, my mom and dad got into an argument, and my father smashed his hand through a mirror. And then my mom filed for divorce, because back then there was no such thing as a no-fault divorce. You know, you just didn't go to the judge and get divorced in the 70s. At least in the early 70s, you had to prove fault. And so she said that she was too afraid to live with him, and they let her out of her marriage. And all I know is that my father really loved my mom. He loved her to the day she died, and he hoped that they would get back together. He loves her to this day. You can see it in his eyes when he talks about her. She was... They were almost on the verge of getting back together. A year before, yeah, it was the year before she died. The fair was in town, and Daddy was coming up to pick me up and to take me to the fair, and she asked if she could go too. And he said, yeah. And Daddy said that is absolutely one of the best memories of his life. He said, we had such a great day. He said it was so great just being there with his family. And he says that even now he treasures that. I'm crying. How great is that? And he said he always hoped that they would get back together. And he thought that that was a really good sign. And they had actually went on a couple of dates after that. And he was actually dating this other woman named Pam, who actually became my stepmom. But at the time, he was kind of keeping her at arm's length, you know, because he kept holding out hope that my mom was going to come back to him. So then once Mom died, he ended up marrying Pam. And they stayed married probably until I was like 13. So she was in my life a lot as I was younger, and it really hurt me when she left. She and I actually kept up our relationship until I was probably 17, but then she had a baby named Kayla. And once she had Kayla, she kind of just didn't want me in her life anymore. And that hurt a lot because she was the only mom I had. Because you got to realize my mom died when I was 6. And then I have my grandmother, and she really wasn't a mother to me. The way I grew up was very much children are to not be seen nor heard. You know, I was just to be there. and do what I was told. I used to tell people a lot that I just raised myself, because in a lot of ways I did. Just read a lot. I educated myself. I mean, the way I found out about my period was somebody asked me, or somebody said something about Tampax, and I was like, "What's Tampax?" Which is a menstrual tampon, in case y'all don't know. And everybody laughed at me, and I was probably 10. And all the other girls laughed at me and said, "Oh my God, you need to ask your grandmother." So I did, and my grandmother asked in front of my grandfather, and she screamed at me to go to my room. I didn't know what I'd said wrong, so I went to my room and I was crying, trying to figure out, what was happening. And then my door came open a little bit, and these 2 books came flying in, and the door shut again. And so I went over and I picked them up, and there were 2 little pamphlets all about your period. So that's how I learned about my period and what Tampax were. So that is my childhood, my friends. That's my childhood. I'm going to get off of here. Because for one thing, since I started crying a little bit, now my nose is running like crazy. And we're almost at an hour. So, yeah, and I'm just depressing you with stories of my childhood. I'm thankful I had a stable place to grow up. No, it wasn't perfect, but none of us is. None of the places that we grow up is perfect. I'm thankful I wasn't physically abused. I'm thankful I wasn't too mentally scarred. I don't think any of us get out of childhood without scars. Even poor little Kenan, I was like, I'm going to do my best. And he came out of childhood with fears of abandonment. All because he says one time that he was acting up in the Walmart parking lot, and I stopped the car and told him he could get out right there. Scarred him for life, just like that. I was like, honey. I was like, I don't even remember that. He's like, it happened. I'm like, I'm not saying it didn't happen. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. Don't abandon your children in Walmart parking lots. I'll talk to you later. Bye.